All right, folks. So it seems to be that journalism, the simple act of reporting and providing information to people, is still an offensive crime, especially to our known allies, as you're about to see here. So this came about. This guy, Andre X, says, "Today I was being kidnapped, blindfolded, and taken to a military base by the Israeli occupation forces together with 4 other journalists. 2 of us were held for 11 hours without charges. My phone was confiscated, and 1 of us is still in custody." That's what is happening in Israel. You know, our friendship with our greatest ally, according to Nikki Haley. So Wyatt Reed says it's been over 24 hours since the GrayZone's Jeremy Loffredo was among 4 journalists being blindfolded and taken into an Israeli military base. The 3 others were released. Jeremy remains in Israeli custody. His phone has been seized. So, to the people that still say that we need to be supportive of the settlement of Israel because they're defending the Jewish people, they're defending the hostages, they're defending people, they're a savior to, the Middle East because they're defending people. Just know, this is what they're doing to journalists. This is what they're doing to journalists. Not even this is what they're doing to journalists. They're just covering the story. They're beating them down. They're taking them away. They're acting like Hamas. Isn't that interesting? Maybe you shouldn't pay your terrorist organizations to act the same way that you do. Just a thought. So the GrayZone, in which Jeremy Loffredo works for, they put this tweet together. It's a long tweet here. So it says, Jeremy Loffredo remains in Israeli jail. Officially, police are holding him on suspicion of serious security offenses for publicly publishing the locations of missile drops near or inside sensitive security facilities, with the aim of bringing this to the notice of the enemy and thereby assisting them in their future attacks. The charges stem from Jeremy's report for the GrayZone showing the aftermath of Iranian attacks on military and intelligence targets inside Israel. The exact locations, which were openly featured in reports broadcast on ABC News and PBS, neither of which currently faces such charges. Originally, the judge overseeing Jeremy's case ordered him released, saying that since Israel military censors agreed to allow Israeli media to publish both word of Jeremy's arrest and the publications that led him to his arrest, Israel could no longer justify his continued detention. However, police appealed his decision. For now, Jeremy remains in custody, and his appeal hearing is scheduled for tomorrow, which I believe is today. It'd be today. The GrayZone unequivocally rejects all these outrageous accusations from Israeli police. We stand with Jeremy's legitimate reporting. The claim that Loffredo and the GrayZone represent Israel's enemy in wartime merely suggests that the Israeli government views the American people and free press as a legitimate target. We represent no one else. We will fight these charges and ask that you contact the State Department and urge them to act in defense of their own citizen detained in Israel. The U.S. has an obligation to defend its journalists who are merely apprehended to their ethical obligation to inform the public of permanent facts. So, once again, a journalist is captured in her so-called allied territory, that friendship, greatest democracy on earth, the secular realm of Israel, has captured to detain a journalist for the simple act of journalism. He didn't break any, known state laws. He didn't actually violate any constitutional amendments in Israel or anything like that. They don't even have a constitution, so I don't even know why I said that. But he didn't violate any of the laws. And the fact that this is already published in highly regarded sources like ABC and PBS. And the GrayZone is the only one that's being captured for this, because it's not like he released the documents or information of classified areas. It's not like it's Area 51. People know these. They know where the bases are. They know that one of the missiles hit near the Mossad agency, and one of them was near one of the defense departments of Israel. It's not, secretive locations. It's not a classified location. People are well aware of these locations. And the fact that Jeremy Loffredo gave the coordinates out to tell people about this, being a journalist, got him prosecuted and sent to prison. And of course, the U.S. Department of Defense, the United States government is staying quiet about this. They're turning a blind eye. Once again, that journalist is being captured. Just like they did with the journalist that was killed in Saudi Arabia, that Washington Post reporter that got killed in Saudi Arabia. Then President Trump stated that, we shouldn't worry about that because we got to get back to business. We don't care about a journalist that just got killed by another foreign country, a country that is known for a theocratic dictatorship, because we have to do business with them. We can't worry about a journalist that was killed in Ukraine, held in captivity. We can't worry about him because we got to continue the war business as usual. Same with this. They're not going to care about Jeremy Loffredo being captured, American journalists being captured and held hostage in Israel. They're not going to care about that because we got to continue on the funding of this genocide. Even though he did nothing wrong. There is no legal arbitration to have him arrested. He is just being a journalist and doing what a journalist does. And because that is ruining their propaganda, it's putting a hole and bursting the bubble of the Israeli propaganda that they're trying to smear to the rest of the world and blackmail people into complying with it. Because he's being a journalist and being objected to that and poking the hole of that, they're arresting him. They're locking him away. So, obviously, it's just devastating. And just like they've done with the other journalists, or even Julian Assange for that matter. Julian Assange, his only crime was being a publisher and distributing information as a journalist. Julian Assange, who warned us about the evil, nefarious people that are reigning terror across all the world. The people who pointed out the real warmongers, the real terrorists that are causing havoc, the people that are creating terrorist organizations to rain havoc on humanity. He was kept in captivity for many years. Many, many, many years. And the United States wanted to execute him. Not help him. They wanted to execute him. Because he was a journalist that was critical and was telling people the truth. And in this world, it doesn't matter how many lies you told, or if it's the biggest lie or a well-known obvious lie. You could say whatever lie you want, but you get in trouble for saying the truth, for stating facts to people, for holding things accountable. That's when it's going to get you in big trouble. They don't care about lies. They don't care about how much false information or misinformation you report. But if you're actually critical and provide real key data and evidence to back your arguments, that is when they're going to take action on you. That's why they're putting all these censorship laws. That's why they're trying to pass Bill C-63 here in Canada to prosecute people for sharing information on the internet. Absolutely devastating. So, Aaron Mate, another well-known great journalist, says, according to Israel's Ynet News, Israel is charging U.S. journalist Jeremy Loffredo with aiding the enemy during wartime and providing information to the enemy. So, in layman's terms, they are charging him with defeating their propaganda by exposing their propaganda bubble. That's what they're saying here. Because the GrayZone has no connection or affiliation with any known enemy of Israel. They're trying to conspire. They're trying to make up a conspiracy theory to connect the GrayZone to Iran, or the GrayZone to Lebanon, or any other territory that Israel finds apprehensively evil. But the fact that Jeremy Loffredo is holding things accountable at a time of war and being a wartime reporter, they're keeping him in captivity and arresting him for being a journalist, for bursting that bubble. Israel is detaining and prosecuting an American journalist for doing journalism. Will his media colleagues defend him? Well, it turns out they won't. They won't do that to they won't do that to Julian Assange. They didn't do it to the Washington Post reporter that got killed in Saudi Arabia. They didn't do it to the Ukrainian, the American journalist that went to Ukraine and was held in captivity to the point of his death. They didn't do jack squat. They didn't do jack squat. You know why that is? Because they fear. Because we live in a totalitarian age where they're in so much fear that it could happen to them that they're going to stay quiet, tuck their tail between their legs, and repeat the same garbage bullshit you hear all across mainstream media. They're good little boys and girls. They don't actually want to be journalists. They just want to be stenographers, get a paycheck, and cry themselves to sleep for being the awful, disgusting people that they are. That's what I imagine Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper do every single night. They get $30,000 an hour to sit there and lie to their audience right to your face as you're watching this bullshit come out of their mouth, and then cry themselves to sleep on what garbage people they are. Soulless cowards they are. Because they sold themselves out to the establishment. Here's Matt Orfala also stating this. American journalist Jeremy Loffredo was arrested after reporting censored news in Israel. Sharing his posts on X is now disabled. And he shows, this is the tweet that supposedly got him arrested. So isn't it interesting? The Elon Musk warrior of free speech, Mr. We're not going to back down to censorship of the Democrats. Funny how you're not allowed to now share information from American journalists about Israel. It's almost like Elon Musk caves at time to time and has a little bit of a flexibility when it comes to free speech. Sounds like every other billionaire that I know of. It sounds like that even if it was Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos that ran Twitter and became X, there would be no difference. There would be no damn difference. So, this is the tweet that supposedly got Jeremy Loffredo arrested. He says, while on the ground in Israel, I was able to track down the impact sites of Iranian missiles in key Israeli military and intelligence installations, including Neatim Air Base and Mossad headquarters, despite the Israeli military censor official ban on publishing the locations. Again, this is well-known areas. This is not classified. This is not breaking any formed state laws of Israel. These are well-documented, well-known. Other publications, you just saw ABC News, PBS saying the exact same thing. But because Jeremy Loffredo is not a garbage propagandist like other mainstream networks and is actually holding things accountable and critical of the impact of these missiles, they're charging him with bursting the propaganda bubble. Which isn't interesting that Israel, when they scream about the Holocaust, when they scream about the horrific days of Jews being prosecuted in the days of the German Reich and Adolf Hitler, it sounds almost very suspiciously similar to to what happened in the 40s. It almost sounds very suspiciously similar of what they're doing here compared to Nazi-occupied territories. That they're now detaining and arresting journalists for being journalists because they're wrecking the narrative. We don't want filthy, critical people wrecking the narrative of our country. You tell me if it sounds very similar to any fascist state that we've read about during World War II. And there's Aaron Monte's tweet again. According to Israel's YT News, Israel is charging U.S. journalist Jeremy Loffredo with aiding the enemy during wartime and providing information to the enemy for reporting on Israeli military targets hit by Iran earlier this year. And he's quoted the article here saying the charges against him include aiding the enemy during wartime and providing information to the enemy. So they're trying to make him out like he's a spy, even though he's an American journalist. This is an American journalist who goes to Israel at a time of war and reporting about the war. Just like CBS News, just like Fox News, just like ABC, just like PBS, just like the New York Times, just like CNN, just like the Washington Post. The only difference is the GrayZone is going to hold a bit of criticism and going to hold a bit of more accountability as a journalist than the other mainstream establishment dicks. That's the only difference. That's why the GrayZone gets the most heat for their reporting. Because they actually hold the bar and bring that bar higher for accountable journalism than any mainstream establishment prawns just repeating the same garbage brought to you by the State Department, the biggest portrayers of misinformation. So Jeremy Loffredo was arrested by police on suspicion of endangering national security after reporting on where missiles landed in the attack launched by Iran earlier this year, including the IDF's Nevatim air base and an intelligence base in central Israel. Again, these are well-established areas. People know about these locations. So he's not violating any state laws. He is not criminally prosecuted with any well-known documented criminal activity. But because he is a reporter who shared information with people, that's how somehow endangering people's lives. It's endangering national security and is somehow connected to the enemy. It almost sounds similar to the early 2000s, where you had to be on our side or the terrorist side. You had to be on our side and repeat the same garbage you hear night and day from the 24-hour networks and the president and the warmongering, bloodthirsty maniacs in control of it, or you're on their side, and you're deemed a terrorist sympathizer. You're deemed an Assad apologist. You're deemed an Osama bin Laden lover because you are skeptical of narratives that are being peddled endlessly without criticism, without accountability, without actual evidence to back these claims. And that's what Jeremy Loffredo was doing as a wartime reporter. And that's why they arrested him and not ABC, not PBS, not any other network that did the exact same thing. Because Jeremy Loffredo and the GrayZone have a little more standard when it comes to accurate reports than any mainstream outlet. And Israel is performing the exact same thing that early German Nazis did to them at one point. Remember, it was Adolf Hitler that said he didn't want, Jewish media to taint over the German national narrative. He didn't want that filthy Jewish media to cover and hold him accountable for the narrative that he was peddling about his fascist regime. Now they're doing the exact same thing to an American journalist. And how exactly is this defending anybody? How is this helping the hostages? Oh, wait. It's not about the hostages anymore. Because they don't even say about it. They don't say any reports about it. No celebrity endorsements on how to help the hostages. No. It's all about Israel gaining more control of the Middle East. It's all about fascist, oligarchical, regime change, globalist warmongers that want to gain power and control over the rest of humanity. And that's why they're expanding into Lebanon. They're expanding into Syria. They're expanding into Jordan. They're taking over Gaza. They made unlivable, uninhabitable, almost like they're doing a cleansing of that entire country. Wonder where I've heard that before. And now they're trying to start a war with Iran. And if they're going to start a war with Iran, guess who's backing Iran? Russia, China. And who is backing Israel? United States, Canada, the UK. So they are provoking World War III. They want World War III. And because a journalist did his job accurately, they're arresting journalists from at least reporting information that's vital to people, because it would burst the narrative. It would get people to think that for a second, what they're being told about this war is an absolute fabricated lie done up by bloodthirsty war criminals that want you to die for them. They're sacrificing their nations, including Israel. Netanyahu is sacrificing his own country of Israel in the process of control and power, because he's a bloodthirsty, warmongering psychopath that does not care about anything, not even his own people. And that is why they're leaving the country. That's why they're leaving the country. And there's huge amounts of protests against Netanyahu than there are support of him. But they're arresting journalists in the process of this, and my heart and thoughts and prayers go out to Jeremy Loffredo, the GrayZone, and his friends, his family. Let's hope for his safety, because if we've seen how journalists are being treated on a daily basis around the world, and I mean like actually severe attacks, not the attacks like Donald Trump did to Jim Acosta by telling him to sit down. I mean actual life-threatening situations of journalists, because they actually do the act of journalism. They're actually holding things accountable. And sadly, no one in the media, no one in publications, not even really podcasters, not even people on YouTube with outsider shows, are willing to discuss this.